I'm there, Hindley's there, and Brady's there. And everything has to be normal. It has to be normal, or else I don't walk out of that house.
Brady was trying to manipulate Dave and slowly trying to bring Dave into what was going on, the Moors murders.
Whacking him and hitting him with an axe. It's very violent. Very, very violent.
And Dave Smith was ultimately the chief prosecution witness who put an end to the Moors murders. Good evening, everybody. A lot of my work recently has been Moors murders related. I've done a recent video on a theory about was Myra Hindley released from prison and didn't actually die. And I'm also at the start of a series on the Sean Atwood channel about the Moors murders and all the intel and the personal kind of experience I've had with the Moors murders, especially with knowing some of the victims' family members. Now, I want to talk about a man called Dave Smith in this video. Dave Smith has been mentioned a couple of times in previous videos, but I've not really gone into actually who is David Smith. And it's very important to know regards to the Moors murders case. Dave Smith was the boyfriend of Myra Hindley's sister, Maureen. He was known in the Manchester area, in his local area, as being, you know, a bit of a tough guy, a bit of a lad. And he was with Myra's sister, Maureen. Now, aside from just a passing hello and a nod, there was no social interactions between himself and Brady and Myra Hindley until he got Maureen Hindley pregnant and married her when he was 16. That's when they started to spend more time with Ian Brady and Myra Hindley as a couple, and they drive out to the Moors together. He didn't know what was going on. They were just going for drives to this place that Ian Brady and Myra Hindley enjoyed to go. He had zero clue of the real reason why they were going up there.
We was on a motorway and a car had cut us up. Brady took this totally wrong and just ordered Myra to overtake them. So at high speed she did, and he did no more. A few empty wine bottles. He positioned himself at the back of our vehicle and just threw them at the car, aiming for the windscreen. This is the first time he shows any being irrational.
Ian Brady, Myra Hindley and Maureen Hindley and Dave Smith would often get together and have some drinks and whatnot, but then often the girls would go up to bed early, leaving Dave and Ian to drink and talk and have conversations in a cloud of drink.
We started talking of petty crime, a situation of a robbery. This then changes into a more serious matter, and he produces guns. Now this, to me, at my stage of life now, I can look back and say, that impressed me.
The more time they spent together, the more influence Ian Brady tried to have on Dave. Bear in mind, David was a 16-year-old, quite easy to manipulate, and Brady was trying to manipulate Dave and slowly trying to bring Dave into what was going on, the Moors murders. It would turn out to be a huge mistake, but a mistake which was the one that was needed to uncover what was going on. Now, Dave talked about how they would sit there and drink and they would listen to big band music and Hitler tapes, and it was a bad atmosphere all around. One evening, Ian Brady went down to a gay district in Manchester, and he brought back a young lad called Edward Evans. And he brought him back to his house at Waldobrook Avenue. Dave Smith was aware that Ian was going to go and pick someone up and they were going to rob him. His plan was to bring back this young lad, and Dave and Ian would rob him. Not to be condoned, but that was the plan. What turned out to happen was Ian Brady brought back Edward Evans. Myra was summoned to go and get Dave.
I go in the house. She takes me into the kitchen. To the right is the living room. Straight ahead is the kitchen. It's a very small house. To the left is a set of stairs. That is the entrance hall. Into the kitchen, she opens a drawer and she takes out, I don't know, 5, 6 miniature wine bottles. Puts them on the top of the cabinet. Excuse me. Wait here a minute. There's the wine. Then she goes into the living room. A minute passes, maybe 2 minutes, I don't know, a minute or so, very short time. All of a sudden, there's screaming, there's swearing, there's banging around. She screams, Dave, Dave, help him. I go running into the living room, and Brady's got this lad whacking him and whacking him and hitting him with an axe. It's very violent. Very, very violent. The lad is on the floor. Brady's still hitting him. I think at the trial he'd received 14 blows. It was very bad. He then strangles him. He's swearing at him. He's calling him. He's cursing him. He's calling him filthy names. And then it's over. It stops. I'm there. Hindley's there. And Brady's there. And everything has to be normal. I emphasise this. It has to be normal, or else I don't walk out of that house. Now, what steps are taken after that is purely leading up to me going out of that house. I don't care as long as I get out of that house. We wrapped the body up. We carried the body upstairs. We come downstairs, and the three of us, mostly myself and Hindley, but Brady was part of it as well, cleaned up. He passes me the axe. Feel the weight of that. How did he take that? Feel the weight of that. Hindley sits down. There's a chair next to the fireplace. She says, I saw the blow register in his eyes. He never saw anything. He never knew anything. I saw the blow register in his eyes. It's a normal conversation. I know it sounds unbelievable. It's a normal conversation. If they'd have walked in with chocolate biscuits and tea, I would have stayed and drank tea and ate chocolate biscuits. I would have done anything just to get out of that house.
And Dave, after a few hours, said he needs to go. Maureen will be getting worried about him. Shitting himself. Absolutely cacking it, but remaining calm. Dave left. He said he was given a look from Myra, almost like he's passed the test. Myra said, how are they going to get rid of the body in the morning in view of the neighbours? To which she suggested that they use a pram which belonged to Dave and Maureen for the child that they had lost not long before. Now Dave gets back to the flat.
I was covered in blood. I went in. Maureen was in bed. I got her out of bed. I went to the bathroom and I absolutely vomited. To the point where I was retching and I was in a bad state, physically in a bad state. I then had to tell her what had happened. I've just seen somebody killed. Doesn't go into any great detail. Don't be looking for detail. There isn't. You just... how do you mean? So I'm showing her my clothes. Look at me. We've got to do something. We decide we're going to the police.
So they waited all night. They waited till the morning, until it was light, to leave the house to go to a phone box. He said they have to call the police. They waited till the morning because Dave was so frightened that Ian was outside, keeping tabs, watching just in case he did make this move. They went to a phone box with a knife, just in case, called the police, where I believe they were picked up from. Dave then recounted what had happened. The police then interrogate Dave. They believe that he's part of this. He's covered in blood. Dave tells the police that Brady has said that he's killed people and buried them up on the moors. This leads to searches on the moors. He said, Myra said something about left luggage. The house is turned over. Brady and Hinley's house is spun. And in the spine of a Bible, of all the books, is a ticket for left luggage. The locker is searched and a suitcase is found. This suitcase unlocks the evidence of the Moors murders. And there was tapes in this suitcase. Tapes of Leslie Ann Downey being tortured and pleading for her life. This leads to searches on the moors, where they do discover Leslie Ann Downey and John Kilbride. The trial commenced months later. Dave went to court to give evidence on the murder of Edward Evans. Not the Moors murders. He didn't know anything about this. He went there because he saw the murder of Edward Evans. But ultimately, him making that call to the police, telling them about the murder of Edward Evans, led to all the evidence and to the uncovering of the Moors murders. And Dave Smith was ultimately the chief prosecution witness who put an end to the Moors murders. Without him, they may never have been caught. The murders would have gone on. The bodies would have never been found. Who knows how many more children would have been killed? Dave Smith lived a very tough life after this. A lot of people refer to him as the third Moors murderer. He was tainted with that brush. You can kind of understand it, but it was very undeserved. I've read his book, Chief Prosecution Witness. I do advise you read it. He was attacked every day for life. His children spat on. Maureen attacked because of his association with Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. He was guilty of planning a robbery. That is a crime, of course. But he had no part in the murder of Edward Evans. And he had everything to do with getting Brady and Hindley locked up and uncovering what was going on. Dave Smith was not an angel, and he was not perfect by any means. But without him, the Moors murders would never have come to an end. I'll be back on Sean Atwood's channel on Wednesday to do part 2 of my Moors murders series with Ron. And if you want to go into my playlist, if you're interested in the Moors murders, if you go into my playlist on my channel, Moors murders, plenty of content there, plenty of videos, interviews with victims, family members, letters from me and Brady that have dissected, visits to the graves with family members. It is a case that I've deep dived. It is a case that is quite close to me. I'm from Manchester and I became friends with one of the victims' brothers. So go and check it out. I hope you learned something from this video. If you didn't know who Dave Smith was before, then you do now. The man who outed the Moors murders, the chief prosecution witness who got those 2 evil bastards locked up. Comment the video, like the video, give it a share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. I'll see you soon. Peace out.
Brady, if you say he was 100% evil, he was every name you can put on him. He was them and more. But in all honesty, Brady slept with the devil, and that was her.